Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Have you recently got into cycling and wondering, what should I eat while I'm out for a ride to sustain energy? Or are you a seasoned cyclist and would love to get away from all the sugary snacks that are on the market? Well, I have you covered. I've been looking for better whole food alternatives for cycling snacks to bring with me on short and long rides. I've been researching and trying different recipes, especially for the best, yummiest, and easiest snacks you can create at home. Download my first edition of Cycling Snacks today at www.askcoachsylvie.ca. Tested and kid approved. Now enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie, who's sitting in Chelsea, Quebec, Canada. And I have the lovely Anne Ivison, who is sitting not too far from me in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. We're just like stones throw away from each other. We should really be in a cafe talking on doing this podcast together. So with regards, we got Anne coming in here. I found her on one of our local women's cycling pages and she posted up, she had a podcast and I was like, oh my God, she's a cyclist and she's a podcaster and we should be talking together. So that's why I invited her onto the podcast. So here's a little bit about Anne before we bring her out. Anne is an inspiring outdoor athlete and nature lover, as I am. Her main activities include hiking, cross-country skiing, cycling, gravel and road, rock climbing, yoga, and staring at mossy rocks. I was like, that's when you're hiking in the Gatineau Park. Her outdoor achievements include summiting Kilimanjaro and Everest Base Camp. I've been there too, not Kilimanjaro, but up in Nepal. Anne is a trusted media professional of over 12 years of experience in radio, broadcasting, television, voiceover, and live hosting. So she could probably give me a couple of little tips here. In the summer of 2021, Anne shifted her focus from radio to her own voiceover business. And in 2022, launched her podcast, Let's Take This Outside. So I'm hoping to... So welcome, Anne, to my podcast.
I love not having to prep myself. This is so nice to be on the other side of it. It's so good.
I know. Don't you find it just a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes? You're like, oh my God, what are they going to ask? And how are we going to talk?
No, I'm just stoked to talk about the outdoors. To be honest, this is a good scenario.
I know. I love this because, we were just saying that, being in Chelsea and the Gatineau Park we always say, it's a blessing when you live in this area that we are so close to so much nature being here. But let's just start off the conversation with, how did you get into cycling? And then we'll morph it right into like all of your outdoor stuff, which we can probably talk at length about.
So cycling is a newer activity for me. And also following what you do and your leadership in the cycling community for females is inspiring. So first of all, thank you for what you do. And also I really think I need to take one of your courses on maybe on we can go climb pink together and you can see how slow I am on hills.
Definitely.
So honestly, the cycling thing started in the pandemic when it first all happened. I am an avid hiker. I was trail running at the time. I found I always felt like injured and hurt, and everyone's like, you'll love cycling, you love cycling. And I'm the kind of cyclist when I rode a bike as a kid, but it was never anything that was huge for me. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I felt stable at the time. I felt good. So I went to Bush Taka, and shout out to Todd at Bush Taka, who hooked me up with a gravel bike, my first, a Cannondale.
Oh, very nice.
We're going to go into the love-hate relationship I have with my beautiful bike later on.
I might be able to give you some tips to make you love your bike.
No, I love her so much, and I don't know if she loves me quite as much. It's a one-way relationship, I think.
Oh my gosh.
We've been on some epic adventures together. So I bought a gravel bike and instantly fell in love with it. Next thing you know, you're getting different kits, and it's just a whole lifestyle, right? It's this whole situation. You realize how many people in Ottawa and Gatineau who ride. We have this beautiful Gatineau Park where they shut down the parkways. I love gravel cycling. I love it specifically out near like Carleton Place is one of my favorite spots to gravel ride. Don't necessarily love gravel riding north of Chelsea. It feels very sandy and I'm not very good. So I bought this gravel bike, love it, and then I have I use it as multi-purpose. So I have the original gravels, they're 37s on it, and then I also bought 28. So I have separate rims, and I bought 28 slicks for road cycling.
Right.
So it's not like the lightest bike by any means, but I can do both. It feels hardy. I don't panic when I go over bumps or rocks or anything like that. But I've fallen in love with it, and it's been a wonderful journey, but it's had its challenges too, because there's maintenance about it that I'm not used to yet. And there's costs associated with it and wanting to upgrade and anyway. So it's been a ride, but I love cycling. I've fallen in love with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where my cycling journey continues.
Well, let's talk about those issues with your bike, the maintenance issues, because I want to say, Marianne, because being in the space of cycling for the last 20 years and having my women's cycling club for 14, I could tell you there's probably some main things that I see all the time. If you're talking about just like the bike, but so let me help you. Okay, so one thing you definitely couldn't have helped me with,
but we can talk about the other stuff too. So I want to talk about, we're 2 months into cycling. I'm in love with it. Overreached with this ride anyway. So had my gravel tires on. Again, it was the first summer of the pandemic. I decided to go do this like 75K ride in the middle of nowhere, leaving from middle of nowhere. I'm trying to remember where it was.
You're by yourself?
By myself. Oh, I love doing everything by myself. Most things by myself. It's great.
I'm like that too.
So I parked by this community center and I'm ready to go for the day. And I had this feeling that the day was going to be off. You know that when you get on your bike, I'm like, I don't feel great. My gears weren't switching correctly. I don't know what I'm doing. I've had my bike for 2 months, right? And the gears aren't switching correctly. And I'm about, I think 20, 30K. I'm in no cell service really, back country road. And I flip my bike over and like detach the wheel, put it back on.
They had a flat? Fine. Or are you just checking the brakes?
I was just checking like the gears because it wasn't switching. It was skipping. I was like, what's happening? Put it back on, get on my bike, giant crunch. Derailleur snaps off.
Oh my God. That's happened to me. Oh shit.
In shock. No, I try to text some bike friends being like, what do I do? It barely goes through. And this angel of this old man just drives up 2 minutes after my derailleur snaps.
Was he on his tractor?
No, he was in like his old beat up
pickup truck.
Goes back to his house, grabs some cords. We're in the middle of COVID, start of COVID, right? So like find my mask, put it on. I'm like, sir, could you drive me back to my car, please? Right? Because I'm just about to burst into tears. Angel drives me back. It's like a half-hour drive back. I get out of my car and I burst into tears at this community center. I get naked and take my jersey off. I'm changing.
He's like, thank you. No,
specifically, this man is gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
I look like this idiot crying. At this, I hope someone was watching, taking my clothes off. I didn't care because I was so upset. I thought I broke my bike. Thought I broke it.
Oh.
So bring it back to Bush Chaka, and they call me back a couple days later. I'm like, I can't believe it. It's gonna be so expensive. They say, okay, there was a problem with the frame, and the through axle wasn't threading properly. We have to replace your frame. It was a defect.
What?
Not your fault.
Oh my God.
So my through axle wasn't threading all the way through, and then I don't understand all the mechanics of it, but you would. But it wasn't threading all the way through, so I thought it'd gone all the way through when I put it back on, and something got caught, and then not the derailleur, the hanger snapped. Sorry, the hanger snapped. Apologies.
Yeah.
Be more specific. Anyway,
so that was defective. That little guy, the derailleur hanger.
The through axle on the frame was defective.
Okay.
So I got a brand new frame within 2-3 months of owning this bike.
Nice.
So instantly, okay, that's
fabulous.
Good start. And then realizing maybe I shouldn't go to random places alone in the middle of nowhere. And that first season brought on multiple flats. I burst my tire before I descended Blair Hill, which is a very aggressive hill on the Ottawa side.
Yeah.
Luckily, just had like multiple issues. I learned how to change flats all year. So again, I learned a lot that season. Second season, not as bad. And then this season started. So I'm just like jumping ahead to all the problems. This season started, second ride. It's a windy day. I'm an idiot. I'm on the pathway along the river. Get on my bike after taking a nice picture of Parliament Hill. Go to take a picture. Get back on my bike. And between the wind and my balance, I just fall over. It wasn't going fast. Fall over. Rim destroyed. Not good. Wobbled. Terrible. Actually, I'm going to show it to you.
Oh my God. Really? Oh my gosh. Everybody, you got to go on YouTube to watch this. That is crazy. You just fell over and did
fell over and did this, right? That's bad, right? Someone said it looked like I got hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or got like twisted in a crack on the ground or something. You know what I mean? Like, nope. It's just like,
fell over, needed new handlebars. Also, my handlebars were destroyed. Rode home on that thing, like 2 kilometers.
Oh my God. How'd you ride home on that?
Safely and slowly.
Because of the like the brakes and the like I would imagine the disc brake went through.
The disc brake was totally fine, but the wheel kept hitting against the frame because it's so bent out. But I was able to ride home. My handlebar was like crushed in. It was anyway. So I haven't had greatest luck with my bike. Hence I'm sorry. It's a very long story to say that's a very I love it, and it doesn't love me much back.
I'm sure there's probably a couple listeners here who have like, yeah, I can kind of relate to you and my experience.
Is this normal? Okay. More importantly,
I don't think so.
Yeah. Can you give me some more context on this kind of stuff? Like, is this me? Is this my fault? Like, tell me more about like, I guess, accidents or defects or just bad luck with a bike.
Marianne, I wish I could give you some light on that, but yeah, I'm just trying to think of some of the stuff that's happened to me, but I can only like say remember last 10 years, but because it's been like 20, but I started with mountain biking and, I didn't know much until I started really getting into the club and doing clinics myself. Mm-hmm. And then having like that derailleur hanger, it happened to me. Like it snapped. But the thing is that I think the reason why is because I did a really stupid thing on my bike and I was going to go jump over this little curb. And instead, I hit it dead on. And I did an endo over the front. And my bike went like this right on the derailleur side. So it smacked on the it was right after I finished teaching a clinic. There's some ladies beside me and I'm like, all like, cool and everything. And that it was so
Were you showing off? Were you showing off?
Well, probably yes.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
anyways, so that happened. So that's what I figure happened to me because my bike went up and down onto the cement on the derailleur. So I think my derailleur hanger bent because that's the little piece that is separate from your frame and your derailleur. It's what attaches your derailleur to your frame.
It's so your derailleur doesn't. It's to save your derailleur, right? Like that's the point of it. Okay.
Yeah. So if something's going to happen, that little hanger will snap, and not your derailleur. Or like if your derailleur breaks, and it doesn't affect your frame. It's kind of like separate. So it's like, and so 2 weeks after, I was doing some hill repeats, and you're like full on cranking, and it just snapped right off. So luckily, unlike you, I was in Gatineau on a hill, and I just turned around. I was like, what the hell? This is the first time it happened to me. And I just cruised down to the light in town and stood there and go, hey, could somebody help me?
Right.
So anyways, some nice person helped me, shortened my chain.
Oh, good. Okay.
So that's what you would do. You take the derailleur off and just put in your bag, shorten your chain. So you have to take break your chain, take like 5 inches out and shorten it and make it one speed and then bike home. So that's what you would do.
So you're saying don't rely on an old man in an old car.
Well, in your instance, like I had to, you had to. Next time around, you take one of my clinics and learn how to break your chain, shorten it, and then you will be able to bike back to your car at least.
I feel like you would be proud because I don't have those tools in my bag, but of course I have I always switch out the proper tube. I have a patch kit for both the tire and the tube. I have like the levers. I think I have a tool in there. Have nothing to do with the chain, but at least I feel like I'm more prepared than a lot of people. No?
Well, yes? Yeah, no, you are. I mean, everybody should be bringing like certain tools. The only thing you're missing is like your chain links. And depending on what your multi-tool looks like, to have like a chain brake on there, so you can break your chain and use those links to shorten it. Unless you have a link in there already, then you just break your chain and shorten your chain.
I would love to learn that from you.
Take my bike maintenance clinic. It's one of the best. That's right. One of the best. But I go over all those things, like everything you should have in your bike bag. I think that, and I even added a truing tool for your disc brake. Because if you were to bend,
that at one of your I saw emails. I saw that in one of your videos too. Yeah.
So if you had fallen and bent that disc, you would not be able to get it through your brakes unless you remove them.
Can I ask you? And I'm just thinking about this. So there's nothing that I like less than being treated like a damsel in distress.
That's what you need to learn.
That's what I mean. Is there something about, I have to say most people are very nice. And something I like to talk about in my podcast though, is like, there's still this imbalance of like men and women and, I don't want to call it a power struggle or what that might be, but there's a superiority almost in men and some male cyclists. There's a lot of like am I under? Okay. There's a lot of like, there's a lot of very elitist, very well off people who have very expensive bikes, who just like think that they are, I don't know, I'm speaking out of term here, who just like always feel like they're in the Tour de France. And it's just like, I don't know, it's such a turn off. It's such a weird, anyway, but I saw a guy the other day. I'm on the parkway when it's shut down. This guy nothing wrong with being fully kitted out, looking like it. This guy hit a goose because he didn't slow. First of all, he didn't slow down. I'm very passionate about this. He didn't slow down. and he like barely went around it. So he like hit its tail. There was feathers everywhere. I think the goose was fine. And I like, me and my friends screamed at him because he could have, you just don't like sometimes you can't avoid hitting an animal, but he had so much opportunity to slow down, to go around it. And he was just in his little like mind, just powering forward and hit the poor goose because he feels like he's just racing on the parkway. Anyway, that's just a tip of the iceberg for me. And
no, I'm totally with you. I could rant all day about people like that. Seriously, like, first of all, it's 20 kilometers an hour on the bike. It is not a bike path. It's a multi-purpose path. There are everybody, goose, geese, babies, you got strollers, you got grandmas, you got everybody on there. People like that should not be close to a bike path. I freaking hate people. And those are the people that scream by you when you're on your bicycle and startle you and don't even say passing or nothing. They just think they fucking own the whole road. I am totally there. Like, I hate saying the word hate. I really dislike that kind of attitude when it comes to cyclists. Like, I've been cycling a long time, and the thing is proper etiquette, is proper respect. Say passing, like
on your left.
Yeah. Like, if you're going that fast, you should not be on that path, period. You should be on the parkway doing your time trial.
So I just wanted to point out, it was on the parkway when it was closed, but still there was a ton of...
Yeah, seriously.
But there was still a ton of geese around. And then again, same bike ride. I'm with about 4 women. We're at one of the lights, I think, at Island Park. Do you know that light? So you're on that one. So to explain, if you're not from Ottawa, they shut down an entire road, an entire parkway.
20 kilometers. Well, sorry. Yeah, 10 kilometers one way, I think.
Love it.
Anyways, yeah.
And we were at the light, and it just took me a second for my brain to understand so the light had turned green on the right side, and it was like red on the... Anyway, we were supposed to go. It took us a second to be like, oh, we have to go. And this man like screams by us. He's like, it was green. And he like yelled at us for no reason, just because it took us like 2 seconds to be like, oh, we have to go.
You're on a Sunday ride. Like, chill, man.
There's just so much ego, and I'm sorry to go down this path, but there's so much ego.
There is.
Gatineau Park is so bad for it too. But there's so many wonderful people who just like love being outside, who love pushing themselves. But like, check your ego. Like, put it aside. We're just all here to have like enjoy.
And I'm just like, I did this little podcast episode about smiling, saying hi, a little wave. You're never too serious to smile at someone. You know what I mean? Even if you're passing or say hi or whatnot, like, I know I go in there and I'm feeling cringy and I don't want to fucking say hi to anybody. But the thing, there are days when I'm like that. Then there are days where I'm like, hey, hi, like a little wave. And you know what? It's just like, I'm sure it makes somebody's day. It makes my day, makes me happier. And, there's not just guys like that. There are women like that too. They're just like, bike by like they own the freaking road. And you're just like, you know what? I don't know who you are, and I don't care if you're trying to break some sort of segment on Strava, but like, seriously.
I smile even when I'm trying to break a segment.
Yeah, right.
True. To call me.
Oh my God. I'm out here with a purpose to get faster. I'm like, God damn, Betty beat my time. Now I gotta go out there and pass.
I'm also talking a lot about how many things I don't like. So this is a great podcast, very positive. But I hid all of my stuff on Strava like late last year. Best thing for my mental health. The best thing. I started hiding everything. It's the best.
Oh, you mean from everybody?
From everyone, and it's just for myself. Completely for me.
You know what's nice about that, Marianne's, that Strava has actually done it for you. You have to pay to see all the top whatever. And I'm like, perfect. I don't know. I don't need to know. And I'm not paying for it. So I to know. You know what I mean? So like before you could see who beat your KOM or
QOM,
yeah, QOM, and you're just like, dang, that bitch. I gotta go beat that. But now you can't see it, so it's out of sight, out of mind. I just like, you give thumbs up, you do some comments, you provide some feedback to everybody, and it's great. Like, why would I need to pay for all that extra stuff that, like, people get too crazy about that. And sometimes provides like an unsafe area. I remember there was one segment in Wakefield, and the only time you could get this segment, like truly be able to blast through it, would be like 6 a.m.
And because was it like green lights, like that kind of situation?
No, it's straight through town.
Okay.
So it's straight through town. So you have to blast through the stop sign. Like literally, I'm like, I'm so close to beating it. I'm like, when did this chick do it? Because it was so fast. And I'm like, okay, the only time I could ever get this is like early in the morning when nobody's on the road, Right. So it's like stupid shit like that.
Or if there shouldn't be, there should not be segments and stoplights. There's a segment that, again, maybe why I'm not on it anymore, because it was a little bit it was a little unhealthy for me. It can be very healthy and welcoming for people. For me, it doesn't work. It didn't work at the time. Yeah. So there was a segment. Was that on Sussex? Either way, but it starts at like a roundabout, and I think I got like second or third in this segment, and I was trying to beat it, but like there can't be any traffic. It like starts at a roundabout, so you have to plow through the roundabout and then just give her slightly up a hill for like a quarter of a kilometer. And it's a really good push, but like I find myself maybe not being the safest.
Yeah.
Because of it. That's not okay. That is not safe. And that is just not that doesn't make cyclists look good. That does not make us look good. Right?
Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've talked a lot about things that I dislike. Strava, men.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. So who here as a listener can totally relate to some of those things, like your buddy? Oh my God, I've got these segments, or this Strava's great. I love watching it, like I said, and I'm so glad that they put some of these stuff under, VIP lock and key. You have to pay for it now. I'm like, fabulous. But because especially when you talk to somebody who talks specifically about these specific, segments that they're gonna go work on, I'm just like, that's really bad for your training, first of all, and your mental state. So yeah, I'm totally with you. But so hey, let's talk about your outdoors stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because we both live in the same area, and we could just like talk at nausea, you guys. So you can like visually picture how beautiful our space is, because I know there's lots of beautiful spaces in North America, but Chelsea or the Gatineau Park happens to be one really amazing place that's very, very close to a major metropolis. Well, I don't know if Ottawa's a metropolis, but
big city,
the capital of Canada. And it's nicely accessible to a lot of people. So what's your experience? Like you have your podcast is wrapped around.
Going outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Going outside.
Just to go back for a second. So I moved to Ottawa 8.5 years ago.
Okay.
I'm from Southern Ontario, super flat, farmland, grew up on a farm. Always loved the outdoors, just played outside a lot. But
where's Southern Ontario?
Tilbury. Do you know where Tilbury?
Where's that? No.
Near Windsor, Chatham area. Okay.
I grew up on a farm too.
Where's that?
Wormstown.
I don't know what that is. Where's
Montreal?
Oh. I knew I liked you. It's because we're both farm kids. We're both farm girls.
What kind of farming did you do?
So my dad still has it, a couple 100 acres of cash crop. So like beans.
Okay.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff.
We had a hog farm.
Oh, wow.
2,000 pigs.
Jeez.
It's small. well, I know it sounds big, but it's small in comparison to some hog farms. But yeah, I mean, for our farm, it was only 80 acres, and the other
Mm.
stuff was like we had beef cows and some cash crops, but typically they're all ours. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
hog farming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad, grew like before that they had hogs and cows and everything, but that was way before my time. So,
Yeah.
but there's something about growing up on a farm that you just that it's part of it. I grew up picking rocks from the fields. I
Hmm.
grew up hoeing weeds. So I was, I love saying this. I grew up like spearfishing in the creek down the road, right? So I always grew up just like a tomboy, right? Just doing a lot of
Yeah.
just
Playing in
connecting
the
in
hay
nature and
mow.
playing. Yeah, just playing.
Hmm.
So I think that's where it comes from. And then I started hiking, I think a little bit seriously when I moved to Ottawa, fell in love with Gatineau Park. And then over time, it's so funny. And I think you could attest to this too. You start to meet people, in the outdoors. And then you start to become more serious about different sports. You start trying different things. I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to like trying new things and then falling in love with it. So it started with hiking, started doing some trail running. I'm not very fast, but hiking, fell in love with it. That's what led to like Kilimanjaro and Everest Base Camp, which was incredible life-changing experiences.
When did you go there? Like to
Ooh,
Nepal?
5 years ago, I went with
Okay.
Dream Mountains, so it
Okay.
was fundraising, and it was a really cool experience. But Everest Base Camp was life changing. How did you find it?
I
Sidebar
was
first.
there 25
Sidebar.
years ago.
Oh, so very different, but cool. Like, is there anything cooler than being surrounded by the highest peaks in the world?
So I didn't get to base camp, but we
Mm.
are at Kalipatar. So
Oh, cool.
that's the last, I guess, guest house before you head into the ice
Hmm.
fields. And we went up Kalipatar. So I don't know if you did that, but
Kalipatar is higher than base camp, I think.
I think so because
Yeah.
you have to trek, like it looks really good. You have to trek up there and then you get the 360
Mm.
of the whole like mountain range. And that was like because we said, should we go to base camp? They're like, it's about 5K that way, and the trail isn't that apparent. It's like
Mm.
you can go and get lost in the ice fields, or you could go straight up there and you can see it from.
Mm.
So that's what we did, and then we head over to Gorakshep, which was
Mm.
across another ice field. And I okay, Marianne, you'll die about it. I gotta listen to your story, but you'll die about this. So this was
Mm.
um November 95. Okay, November 95. And that when we cross over to the other valley to go down, like, because there's two trails to go up to base camp, like up to the top, on that side, they had a freak snowstorm for 36
Mm.
hours.
Mm-mm.
It snowed like, I'm not even shitting you, 5 feet high. 5 feet. Like it was higher than the yaks. It was crazy. We got stuck there, and there was a group of Japanese tourists that were in our same guest house, and their leader decided to go down into the valley to start hiking out. And that night, I guess, their guest house was taken out by an avalanche. It was
No,
like it
no,
was a
no, no, no.
national disaster. People couldn't get out. We were stuck there for like 6 days, I think. We had
I'm so
to,
sorry. That must have been traumatizing.
well, it was traumatizing finding out afterwards. Okay, this is also the
Hmm.
time when like Quebec was going through the referendum. Same thing. We are stuck in there. Our parents hadn't heard from us. And and we literally we didn't know if we are gonna get out. We did a lottery. So there's about 60 people up there. Like there was another group, American group, from the States. And so we put our names and we drew our names in a lottery to see who got out first. Like basically, like and when we heard an airplane, like a helicopter, then we'd all line up and we'd basically see if we are how many people would get on that helicopter. It was crazy.
That makes my heart just, I know that you're safe now, but like that.
I know, like our parents
horrible.
would be like, what? Our kids are up there. There's avalanches. People are dying. Like,
Ooh,
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
What, you know, it's quite different now on that trail you're talking about. That was, you know, that's very obvious now. It's 25 years later, but
Yeah.
would you ever go back?
I think about that a lot because I love hiking. I haven't done nearly enough in the last couple years. Last 10 years actually. I'm always like, every year I'm like, I want to go hiking, hiking, you know, like hiking and camp, you know, like I'm like, where do you do that besides Lake Placid around here? And
I'm going in a couple weeks.
are you going to Lake Placid?
I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to go hike Big Slide. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
See? So I used to do a lot of that. And and I'm like, oh, it'd be so amazing to go back and see what it's like hiking up. Like I can just I envision it like it's still so fresh. It's crazy. You know, and back then, Marianne, I did not have a Gore-Tex jacket. I did not have like fancy neoprene, not neoprene, but like, you know, like
Merino
wool and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
this fancy equipment. Like I had a yak wool sweater and I'm sure I had some sort of jacket. And that's what we hiked with. Like, you know, it was just sort of so rustic. I mean, we didn't go with it was my boyfriend at the time. We hiked up there and so we just had our backpacks. We didn't have like a group or anything.
I think you should try it again. It's a different experience now. And, you know, Everest is like, you know, more popular than ever, and they're putting limitations on it too to hike Everest. But I don't think I'd ever want to.
Go again?
I don't think I'd ever want to hike Everest. I would never want to hike Everest. I would go back to the Himalayas though, for sure. It's an exquisite experience. It's like this, but like what you went through, actually the year before, friends of mine in the same, because the group I went with, they cycled through Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, and Machu Picchu. But the last group that was supposed to that went to Everest Base Camp, they were in Kathmandu about to hike, and there was that massive earthquake. What was it, like 5-6 years ago?
Oh yeah,
a bunch of people died, and like Kathmandu, there's so much damage in Kathmandu. Everyone lived from the group, but my friend remember like sitting in the hotel room, and it was like there's this massive earthquake, and the bed is shaking. And they were just super grateful that they were in Kathmandu. They were very grateful that they weren't in the mountain. So yeah, natural disaster. Anyway, so that's kind of to not to wrap this up in a bow, but like that's a part of what we do in nature is you can't control a lot of these things, and we can only be, and that includes cycling. You can only be so prepared, and there's some things that you cannot control, whether it's a bear running in front of you, whether it's horrible weather, whether it's, you know, an earthquake, a mudslide, that's almost, I don't want to say that's part of it, but like that's just nature being nature, and we're just a part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds like really grim.
But tell me, well, I totally, and I find that nowadays we need to be more prepared for these kind of natural disasters.
Look at last weekend here.
Yeah.
Look at last weekend here in Ottawa. Right?
That's a perfect example. And I find that being able to go out into nature and then survive out there, I mean, you don't have to do crazy stuff like, I don't know if you're watching these shows called Alone. You have to watch that.
No, I haven't.
Google Alone. It's like 6 series. You have to qualify. They drop people off at like a beach, and you have to, the last one left standing wins. So it's survival. You have to be able to like fish, make fire, make your own house, like not house, but like I want to say accommodations.
Shelter.
You have to make your own shelter.
Shelter. Yeah.
And so you have to survive. So a lot of these people are kind of survivalists of some sort and level, and so it's so interesting to watch them go through all this preparation and then actually survival. The longest one lasted 72 days.
Nope. As
I
much
think
as
then it becomes a mental after like 20
yeah,
days and you finish like building and taking
build
care
a
of
hotel by
everything.
that point. You should be
Yeah.
fine after that point. You
Yeah.
should be good after
So
that
it's like,
point,
how
right?
much do I love being by myself?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so as someone at like it's funny you say that, because as much as I love the outdoors and like love pushing myself, and I'm not trained for it now, but like a 12-13 hour hike in the Adirondacks and all
Mhm.
those beautiful things that you just push yourself and you're at your edge and you're at your limit, right? I also love like a cozy bed. I love a good shower. I
Mhm.
love getting a burrito. I love like I'm a little bit of a princess too, and I feel like I need to toughen up a little bit. But the older I get, the more I just love a good sleep. I just love sleeping.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that for sure.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I could appreciate that. Just like I just want a good night's sleep. Blah.
right? Yeah. But even like, sorry, back to our conversation about Ottawa and Gatineau. It's just like
Oh yeah, that's right.
sorry, it's a
Ottawa
mecca.
Gatineau.
It is a mecca for outdoor activity. We have all the seasons. My favorite new thing, it's at the top, almost at the top of the list with hiking, cross country skiing. Love cross country skiing, skate skiing. It's the best. It is the coolest sport I've ever done. It's hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Fell in love with
Yeah.
cycling a couple years ago. Sometimes go rock climbing. Absolutely. Like,
Hmm. Are you just
um,
still rock climb like outside?
yeah, I don't go by myself, but I have friends that I go
Of
with a few
course, you don't
times in
want
a
to go by
season.
myself.
No chance for me anyway. But really, really enjoy rock climbing. It's a whole other thing. It's a whole other
Yeah.
pace than cycling. It's a whole other pace than hiking. It's all like, it's very mental. And very much like a puzzle that you slowly put together compared to cycling and you're killing it and you're going like 80 kilometers an hour, right? It's like a very different meditative experience.
Very
But
slow and methodical.
yes,
Yeah.
we have all of, we have these parkways that shut down. It's very friendly towards cyclists and outdoor lovers and
Mm-hmm.
hikers, and the trails are maintained beautifully. So I think that we live in like one of the meccas for
Mm-hmm.
outdoor experience, other than like out west, Canmore, Banff, out in Vancouver. Like I would say that this is one of the coolest places and accommodating places for outdoor lovers and outdoor sport lovers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we're so blessed that we have. Oh, by the way, Chelsea isn't just about the Nordic spa, which I hate. Everybody's like,
You
"Oh,
hate it?
Chelsea." No. It's like, "Oh yeah, the Nordic spa." Like, no. You're the Gatineau Park.
It's actually I'm sure you
It's
noticed this
taken over
too.
the Gatineau Park, but
Oh my gosh, like the amount of people who have, I love it though. It's a love hate. I love how many people who've discovered the outdoors. I hate how many people who don't understand how to respect the outdoors.
oh,
That's something that I'm
let's not
trying
get
to
into that either.
to talk
It's
about.
just like,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can only control yourself and what you do. But we have some really good leaders in the community who are able to help with that and inform. So yeah, but I just love living in this area, and it would take a lot for me to ever have to move away.
I know. You should move her to Chelsea.
Do you have an extra room?
No. No, I don't.
Wait, you expect a single woman to buy a house or move
I know. Hey,
in
it's
this
always like,
economy? A
yeah, I know.
self-employed woman to move in this economy, and like, yeah, no, it's too much right now. I'm waiting for the market to crash. I'm one of those millennials that's waiting for it to just
Do you have the savings ready for the house to pop up? Like
I do have a
because
down payment. I can definitely put a down payment
yeah,
down.
so
Yeah,
you're gonna
yeah.
be smart. You're gonna be one of the smart ones. And about a year, you'll be able to find a pretty nice place, I bet.
I
You
also
just
found
have
out,
to wait it. Wait it out. Wait it
Dree,
out.
I've said this so many times on my podcast. Let's take this outside, which I'm plugging. I've said this so many times that I imagine I'm gonna like I don't know if hopefully I'm going to be with someone who wants to share that with me one day. But I want to be one of those 70-year-olds who lives in Gatineau Park, who is just tootling along, living the dream for the rest of their life. Like that's how I imagine my life going. That's how if I could predict anything.
Yeah, there's lots of those around here.
And
I
they're
live
the
in
best.
well, I live in a little village that there have been people here for 80 years since since the first house was built here. Like 80 years old. Like these are some of the older ladies that are still around here.
You're in
But
Chelsea?
yeah, I'm in Farm Point. So
Point, yeah.
Farm Point is close to Wakefield. So it's, like Chelsea is like 18, 20 kilometers long. It's along the Gatineau River. And so I'm at the very end. And then there's La Pêche, which is the next municipality, and Wakefield. So I'm like 4 kilometers from Wakefield. So that's kind of where I hang in that village and bike there and enjoy like all the amenities over there. Yeah, but yeah, it's a really nice place. And if you can get yourself here, don't ever let it go.
And we can even dive in quickly. We can dive into the cycling opportunities, mountain biking, gravel biking.
Yeah.
So much like you can fat biking. What am I missing? Unicycle. There's a guy in a unicycle in Gatineau Park.
Benoit, yeah.
Yeah.
Friend of mine. He's
so
crazy.
like no matter how many wheels, like there's so many. Again, I could just brag about this place all the time. You can do every kind of biking here in such a good way. There's so much opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's why I love where we are, because we are right beside the road. We are like across the highway from the park. So mountain biking, snowshoeing, cross country skiing, and downhill skiing. Let's not forget that. We got like 4 hills within like 10-minute drive. And that's like unheard of. I love that part because I'm not a cross country skier. I'm a downhiller.
That's okay. That's all right. We can be friends still. That's all right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying. But and that's another thing that it's so great to be able to just be at a ski hill, like in minutes from your house. Beyond pristine road, mountain bike, dirt road, gravel, like you said, you explore out in Carleton Place. I'm out in, northern Quebec here, which is probably as scary because it's like cottage country / farming country / who knows who else is living out there, which I don't want to think about. But as a solo cycling woman going out to these vast areas, like I did that last weekend, and my girlfriend saying, it's really good to have like a partner to bike with out in the gravel, because like you experienced, what if something happens? Really lucky that you had that guy show up. But I was like, yeah, like you're kind of right. Because if you take a wrong turn and end up somewhere and you've got no Wi-Fi and your Google Maps isn't showing up anymore, and you're
I'm a millennial, but I'm old school. If I'm going to like the middle of nowhere, I will physically write out directions, or I'll like print out a map.
Yeah, well, bringing a map is really smart because that's something that's never going to change. But yeah. So
yeah, it's funny because I think maybe you could probably relate to this, but I learn a lot of things the hard way. A lot of things that I have learned in nature is either from my own mistakes or people close to me mistakes. Just in the past. So, but
yeah, knock on wood. Make sure that doesn't become like a fatal mistake.
Yeah, but I'm super grateful, and it's been again, everything I've done is but I'm so much better for it, and the way I layer now when I hike, or what I pack when I'm biking, or I'm assuming soon I will be getting something for my chain for my bike, thanks to you. I'm looking forward to that.
Your chain links.
Can you soon, could you help me with hills? Could you help me with
Mhm.
that?
Hey, I am actually, here's all of our listeners. So for the listeners in Ottawa,
Mhm.
I am I'm organizing Thursday morning hill repeat sessions.
Uh-huh.
So it's
Where?
6:30 in the morning,
I love early mornings. Huge fan.
P3. P3 is the info center
Mhm.
leading into the Gatineau Park at the very entrance near Hull. So it's funny. I started this morning, actually, Marianne, and I had a bunch of women who were interested and da da da.
Mhm.
And I looked at my watch and I was like, oh, it's going to rain tomorrow. Oh, fuck. you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
one of the things you should never look at is the weather. Just if you're
Mm-mm.
going to commit, just commit and show up. It's, dress appropriately. You're going to have a good time.
There's
So
no such
then,
thing as sorry, I
yeah,
just
no, you're going to say it.
there's no
Say
such
it.
thing as bad weather. It's just bad layers.
Yeah, bad clothing.
Bad clothing. Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, like in the morning or like late last night, oh, I can't. Oh, I saw the weather. Oh, no. Oh, it's gonna be slick and slippery. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, ladies,
Yeah.
don't get me started. So I show up.
Mhm.
Nobody showed up. It
I
was
saw that on social
gorgeous.
media. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was gorgeous. It like the only thing I was upset about was like I put my bike on the back and it was wet. The seat was wet. The hand I'm like,
Mhm.
well, whatever.
Oh, I
But
can
yeah,
drive to P3. Perfect. It sounds
yeah, you
great.
can, but
Yeah.
make sure you know how to get there because they
Oh, I
used to
know. Yeah,
have
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, they used to
Yeah.
have a direct road, but now Gamley, like you can park at the end of it, and that's what I did. And I just biked the bike. They have a bike path to the
Mm,
parking lot. Because I'm not quite sure. It's like roundabout, and anyways, it's
mm.
confusing. So I showed up and I was like, hey, and I, I'm just like, when you go and commit, don't look at your phone, just make sure you're prepared and show up. And you'll have the most amazing coaching session ever. Free, by the way.
Is it free? I was like, hey, first of all, do I have to be part of your group? Do I have
No,
to?
I'm like, after this, I'm like, I think I should be paying, charging for
You should be
this.
charging people. Okay, Thursday mornings at 6:30. Okay. I'm going to
I
drive.
know,
Okay,
see?
I'm not driving. I'm going to ride. It's a 20, 30-minute ride from my place. Good warm up. And
Yeah.
then I'll be warmed up by the time I get there.
Yeah, you just got to count for some of the little hills going up there. But, and that was the thing, and so short of like being all snitty about it, I was like, I woke up early. I had a crap sleep. Like
Mhm.
I'm out here doing hill repeats.
Yeah.
What are you girls doing? So, anyways, but I mean, that's just one of those things. And I realized that, not everybody's committed to, getting better, but you have to show up and do certain things to get better on
Yeah.
cycling. Like
Showing up is
showing
literally
up is
most of
number
the.
one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
okay, I will commit to at least trying it once. How about this? I will commit to that at least once and maybe it might be a regular thing, but having other people there
hmm.
waiting for you makes a big difference too, I find.
Yeah, I was waiting. I will always be so but anyways. So that was just like the first one. I understand like it's early morning, but I just, you do not want to be in the park after 5. Like after it is a gong show in there. Like
Yeah.
you cannot properly
I don't even like
coach.
I don't even like going on weekends anymore.
I don't go
To be
weekends. So
honest.
yeah, so in the
Yeah.
morning, it is totally silent. It's closed.
Mm.
It's usually just us that are there that early, and then people start trickling in 7 o'clock, 7:30, like as we're finishing. And yeah, and then you have the whole place to yourself. You don't have to worry about, running into other people or having, another 20-person group on the hill, same as you. So for me, it's safety as well. And it's just so busy. Like I was there like Tuesday night. I'm like, oh my God. Like
Yeah.
it was still closed, but you have these huge groups of people. And, like you're talking about the person's, speeding past you and,
Yelling and
I'm just like not into this.
yeah. And to be honest, I figured out my prime energy for like working and productivity and working out. It's like 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. That's all you get.
Yeah.
And then it's all downhill from there. So
So tell me about your podcast, because I'd love to plug that, of course. So let's take this outside before we close it up.
I have to work.
I know,
again.
we gotta
sorry.
work. But yeah, so tell me how you decided to put your podcast together, because I love to hear other stories of podcasters.
So to give some backstory, I was in radio for over 12 years. Locally, I got laid off about just over a year ago, and just decided to go into voiceover work. And a friend of mine, he owns a podcast company called the Sound Off Network. And he said, so we were doing some voice work together, and he's like, I think you should launch a podcast. I think you would love it. I'm like, no. And I said no for a long time, because the idea of doing that and because it's part of me is like putting my heart out there, right? And so I finally committed to it and decided I wanted to do about the outdoors, talking about people connecting to nature. I narrowed down my scope. So essentially it's about talking to athletes, outdoor professionals, and scientists about their connection to nature. And that's what it's all about. So I've interviewed everyone from a man named Adam Schultz, who is who is a writer, like a Canadian writer, who was like a canoeist, who's like canoed across like the Arctic Circle. I've interviewed a woman named Ruby West. She's an up and coming. Do you know Ruby, or do you know of Ruby?
I think she was one of the ones I saw on your podcast.
She's now on the Canadian track cycling team. But she's one, I believe so, or she's going for it. But she's like one of the best like gravel cyclists for her age in Canada. Super cool. Loved Ruby. So people like that. I just interviewed a professor of like leisure studies, Gordon Walker, talking about why we connect to nature and if it's like a basic psychological need. So I just get to have these really cool conversations with people. And it's been actually, I'm going to brag for a second. Its first week of release, it hit number 3 in wilderness in Canada on like the podcast charts.
That's awesome.
So so like it clearly is resonating with people. I have people like Ray Zahab coming up.
Wicked! Ray's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, love Ray. I'm gonna have you on probably later. I'm gonna have you on later this year. But it's not just local people. I want to have international people as well. But essentially it's just having conversations and taking my skills from broadcasting and taking my interview skills and combining that with my passion. And honestly, it is the best thing I've done for my soul. I get to put my heart and something I genuinely love talking about. Every 2 weeks I get to release this, and it feels like I'm just taking a piece of my heart and putting it out there. And I really appreciate everyone listening and the feedback. And I'm so passionate about it, and I love what I do, and I love that other people edit it for me. So but it's called Let's Take This Outside, and I release bi-weekly. There's a bunch of episodes up there right now. You can find on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, and let's take this outside.ca is the website for more. So
wow. And I can totally relate with the just meeting and talking with some extraordinary people, because that's how I feel when I interview like individuals for my podcast, like cycling. There's so many like really cool things wrapped around cycling that I had no clue about, and I just love being able to bring those as well, just like you. So with that, everyone, I hope you guys as listeners have enjoyed our banter back and forth, because that's basically what it's about, right? And since Marianne's local to me, we should definitely maybe get together and do some IG lives or something.
I would love that.
And so make sure that you follow her. So her podcast is let's take this outside.ca. And Instagram. So it's I'll put all her all her handles in the show notes, as well as don't forget to follow this podcast on Instagram at Seekers from the Saddle Podcast. And sign up for my cycling newsletter that I'm putting out now. So it has it's weekly, and it has the episodes from the past week and some cycling, health, fitness, and nutritional tips. Just feel inspired of sharing, and you can get that in your inbox once a week. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Marianne. It's been a pleasure. I know we could continue.
We could probably
chatting,
talk for another 4 hours.
Everybody's like, okay, we got to go visit Gatineau now.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Marianne. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day. Make sure you ride your bike. And don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.